and welcome to Conquering Mount Scrapmore with Brenda. I'm Brenda and we have an announcement today. March 4th, 2022 we're having a International Stitch Marathon. So if you want an invitation to this marathon, this quilting fun, please comment below, like, share, and subscribe. Also, tell your friends to like, share, and subscribe. We want to get a lot of people out there, to come in and join us on this, this marathon. So if you want more details, you're going to have to come follow me closer to that March 4th, 2022 date. But it's going to be from 9 a.m. in the morning till 9 a.m. at night, Mountain Standard Time. It's going to be just a blast. So we're today going to do a herringbone design because you people was overwhelmed at how many people actually asked to do a herringbone layout. So that's what we're going to cover today. So what you need is a bunch of different fabrics. I've chose blue, green, purple, and black and white prints, a sewing machine, thread, scissors, and I'm going to show you a leader ender project. Right, so my leader ender project is putting another log on this log cabin block. But anyway, so come on a little closer. We got lots to show you today. Okay, so we're at the sewing table, and this basically is how the herringbone pattern gets laid out, right? I mean, if you wanted to switch it so it went this way, you can, but just make sure all your lines are all the same. I've done mine this way, so they overlap, and then you keep building your basically your strata. But one of the things I'm going to talk to you about, I'm just going to grab this Christmas print here, is that this is a 6.5 by 2.5 inch. Now the trick with herringbones is that the finished size, which would be 2 inches by 6 inches, it's this width times 3, right? So if you were doing a 2-inch strip, it would finish at 1.5 inches, so it would have to be 4.5 inches long. If you were doing a 1.5 inch wide strip, it would have to be 3.5 inches, right? Because your finished size on a 1.5 inch strip would be 1 by 3, right? So it can also be longer. That's what everybody forgets, right? This is 2.5 by 6.5, but it could be 8 or 10 or whatever, right? Because it's longer than 3 times the finished width, right? So this is how, I know, and this sounds really crazy, but it does work, right? As long as all your blocks are the same size, your rectangles are all the same size, and they are finished size 3 times longer than the width, it'll work. So let's just start here. Now, some people start with a triangle. I do not, and I'll show you why, because I sew the end to the other end. So what I do is I start like this, and I grab one piece here, and I flip over the other one, and I just quickly run this through the bottom of the machine. Now I've got my machine set up, so it's a little bit smaller stitch, but nothing major. Now I'm going to just go up to the 1/4 inch mark, and then I'm going to leave a little gap, just a little gap. And I'm going to lift up my foot, press it to the side, and I'm going to grab a leader ender just so I can continue sewing. I'm only doing one little strata here. And I'm going to show you the power of leader enders. You can actually do 2 quilts at once. I'm making a bunch of log cabin blocks, just simple little log cabin blocks on 1.5 inch strips for charity. So, and I'll show you how many I actually managed to do. Okay. Now, what we're going to do now is take this, I'll take this, and just flip it over like this and press out that way, right? So this is where your gap is, your little tiny gap, right? It's right there. You see it? Okay. So it's basically a partial seam. So now I'm going to take the next one, and put my purple on, and I'm just going to lay it down. Now, I always like to sew where my gap space is on the top. Okay, so I just move this. Now my foot, my 1/4 inch foot here has a 1/4 inch line back here where you are, where the needle is, and then up here. And so I have like 3 little divots along this. So this is going to give me a perfect little 1/4 inch seam, or gap, because that's my gap, right? I don't know if you can see it. That's my gap. So I'm just going to finish going on here. And put another log cabin block or brick on. Yeah. What a fun way. This is actually a lot of fun to do with log cabins, because, you know, it's very simple sewing. Okay, now press this out of the way. And now I'm going to do this. I just press it out of the way. Here's my divot. Here's my little opening, right? And now I'm going to pick up one of these. And there. I'm just going to run this down until I hit my 1/4 inch away from the edge. There we go. Yeah. There, I'll put this on here, and it will look just wonderful. There we go. Okay, now one of the other tricks you do is you do more than one at a time. Like if you want your strata or your lines now to be, you know, more than, you know, 4 across or whatever, you do all 4 or all 5 all at one time, right? So you've got all of this. So I'm going to continue on with this, but I'm also going to show, I also have one already finished. Then I'm going to show you how to sew all of these rows of blocks together. Okay, now I have a strata or a row of these blocks sewn in a herringbone pattern. It's a little different than the one I started, but you'll see what I want, see what I'm getting. Now in a French braid, if you were doing a French braid, because a lot of people, well, that looks like a French braid. If you're doing a French braid, at this point, once all of them are long enough, you would simply chop this off. This, and you would take your cutting mat, you'd put this on there, you'd line up your ruler, and you would cut off all these little triangle edges, and then sew it to the next one. This is not what we do in a herringbone layout. What we do in a herringbone layout, let me get my bigger piece, I'll show you. Okay. So here's my bigger piece of herringbone. What I did, what I'm going to do now with this, is I'm going to lay these out just like this. So I got my 2 dark purples in the same spot, right? This is open. Now, don't be tempted to sew them like that, because now you're out one, you know, you have to add, but you see how this one lines up where this one's under? This one is under the one beside it. Well, that's where you have to start here. And I mean, it does come together very quickly. So what I would do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to flip it so that I can sew it right away. And I know where I'm sewing. Okay, now I have to get this little divot here, right? And I'm going to line it up. Now I'm going to show you something, and everybody in the places go, oh! I'm just going to move this open a little bit more. I just pulled it open. I just released some more stitches. That's all. That's all I did. And yes, everybody probably panicked. It's like, oh my gosh, what are you're taking it apart. No. I'm just going to get it under my needle easier. And I'm going to go right to this edge. Now, well, most people are going to say, but this is a Y seam. Yes, it is a Y seam. And you can sew it like a Y seam. However, I choose not to do it that way because it doesn't look right. It never finishes the way I want it finished when I sew it as a Y seam. Because as you're doing this, you'll see very quickly, you can pull this apart. Hang on, let me get my leader ender through here. Hang on. Okay. So I have started this. Hang on, let's lay this all out. So I've started this and I've pulled this apart. The next seam I'm going to sew, and this is where I pulled, right? This one right there is where I pulled. You know, pull the seam a little bit. If I sew it like, if I fold this so it looks like another seam and pull this out of the way, it lies absolutely flat. I don't have to worry about making or missing my point or anything else like that. And it's simpler, actually, simpler, much simpler than and I hope you guys realize I'm sewing my Jonomi for the very first time on camera. So I'm hoping this all works. Now I'm just going to pull this a little bit further apart. Because then what I do now is I just re-sew that seam. Right? That's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to keep re-sewing that seam. So I'll do another one because you're obviously... Now, some of you might be like, you're doing what? Okay. And you could do it like a Y seam where you take the bigger piece underneath and you pivot. But I just never have any luck with that method on a herringbone because those Y seams are so close. So here, I'm laying it back out so you can all see this. Right? This is the seam I pulled open now. It's the one between the green and the purple. Right? Now I'm just going to lay this down and I flip this over and fold it. So now that green and purple seam that I ripped is going to get resewn. So here we go. There. There. It does get long. It does get long. Okay, let's get this under here and get this. Do I have to get that one out of the way too? Probably. So this is kind of an easier way of doing this than having that, you know, magical Y seam. If you were hand sewing this, you would definitely just leave your Y seams. But Y seams are not an issue for hand sewing. They hand sewing and Y seams is just such a piece of cake. Okay. Now, I'm just gonna show you one more time. See, this all lays out perfectly flat and nice, right? Just like that. There's a little bit of, you know, a little bit of thread every once in a while showing through, but that's typical in any sewing. So now it's this seam that I'm going to work, and then it just keeps going back and forth all the way down. All the way down. So, and because I've pulled, I could pull on this and just pull and pull and pull. Like if I pulled it back like even an inch, that's okay because I'm going to re-sew that seam. So I'll show you one more time. There. How simple this is. And you do make some beautiful, beautiful, eclectic looking scrap pieces very quickly. I made myself a beach bag. This is going to end up as a table runner, but I made myself a beach bag using 2-inch by, what was it, 2-inch by 6-inch strips. Just all in bright summery colors. It was so much fun to make. And there we go. There. Okay. And I'll do one more, just so you can see this. And you don't have to lay it out flat every time. So you know this seam is next, right? So this seam gets folded. Fold this out of the way. And there you go. You want it to lie nice and flat in your hands first. There. And now you just push this out of the way. And I'll lay it down. Get the seam laid out. Perfect. Here we go. Flip your seam the right way. Okay. And there we go. Now I'm going to finish the rest of this, and then I'm going to show you how I do along the top and along the sides. Okay, so we finished this by sewing down this seam and folding, like we're folding this way or folding this way. We're folding at right angles to the piece. So essentially now we've gotten this all done, all the way to the bottom. Now I promised you how to do the top and bottom next, but I'm going to explain something about the sides. These sides, like if I was going to make a tote bag, right, with box corners, I would want to sew up, just a minute here, let me fold this in half. I would want to sew up these seams together. I would want to sew them together, so I would have a long tube, and you wouldn't be able to tell then from, you know, you wouldn't be able to tell where this started and ended. If I want to do a tote bag out of this, well, first off, it's too big, but I would want to sew the top to the bottom, right? And then box your corners. Then you can't tell, there's no seams on the side to show where it is because it's a big cylinder, right? So what we're going to do now is, there's a couple ways of doing this. I want to just sew the top to the bottom the same way pretty much we did the rest of it. So this, okay, so this is going to sew into here. Just like this, right? Because we're basically now we're going to make a huge tube that will hopefully work out great for us. Now we'll see what side starts the easiest. So probably there isn't a side that starts the easiest. Yes, it's this side right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to flip this around inside out, because that's how you sew it together. And what you're going to do is you're going to take this seam and put it in here like so. You're going to match up that end where your seam wants to match up. And now you're just going to sew it just like this together, right? Okay, so we'll get this started here, and we'll just put this in like so. Okay. Yeah, and you gotta figure out, like, when you're working with this, you have to figure out, okay, is this gonna lie flatter if I do this, or is this gonna lie flatter when I do that? So, you got a little bit longer seams here to work with, which is okay. And I had so many leader enders when I was putting them through, I had to actually stop and cut more logs for the outside here. Because it was like, wow, I didn't cut enough. I can't believe it. I didn't cut enough. Oh well. That'll be okay. There'll be lots of fun bright colors in here. They're going to be charity blocks. These log cabins are going to be charity blocks. So it's going to be kind of fun. I put them all together someday. Right now I've got so many UFOs I don't dare put any more blocks together. Okay, so the next seam now, we're going to fold the other way, and we're going to match this end up with this end, just like this. There we go. Okay, now you start back from the seam about, oh, I'd say about, half an inch or so there. Half an inch back usually is good. Okay, now I want to make sure I match up the seam. I have to clip it a little bit with the scissors because the thread's in the way. That's okay too, because I'm going to resew the seam here in a sec. Well, I just want to... I was sewing the bigger piece yesterday and was having a lot of fun with my other quilters that I chat with online, and when they were sitting there, "You're going to show everybody how to do this," and I said, "Yep." And I said, "It's like origami kind of craziness that you finish, but it's good. It's all good. It's nice to." As I was pulling out these fabrics, I was like, "Wow, I haven't seen this in a long time," and wondering where did I get this fabric? I can't remember what I made with that, and it was kind of neat. So I'll finish sewing the rest of this, and then we'll come back. Okay, so here it is now, a cylinder. Basically, it's one big cylinder thing, right here, and this is, if it wasn't this wide, you could have turned it easily into a tote bag or something like this. But what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you what I do when I cut this and try and make it into one big flat piece. Because when you cut this now, this will all be, every edge on here will be a bias. So what I want to do is I want to take the world's oldest yardstick. The world's oldest yardstick, and I just want to go from point to point, and I got my tailor's chalk out, and I'm just going to draw a line real quick. Doesn't have to be fancy, it doesn't have to be anything, and just get right across here onto there. There we go. Just draw it quick like a bunny, and there's my line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a stay stitch on each side of this chalk line, right about 1/4 inch away. And I'll just move this into position here. Now, this could be a little bit of fiddling and whatnot, so I probably need a different foot. Okay, hang on. This is where... Okay, now let's use this foot. This one looks like it would work. Okay. I don't know what foot this even is, but it's clear and you'll be able to see it. Oops. I'm still not really accustomed to this yet. We're getting there. We're getting there. We're getting there. It'll be fine. Okay. So now, oops. Where am I? Oh, what's wrong with this? What's stitching? Oh, it is stitching. Okay. Just grab something out of the back here. Hang on. This is not as smooth stitching on this as it is on my 301A, because I'm more accustomed to my 301A. But, I have to learn how to use this machine eventually, right? So, it'll be fine. We just make sure we don't sew anything on the bottom. Just about at the end. Get that up, put it back in. Now see, this is where the end is, right? So get your stay stitching end, like so. And now we pivot with the needle down and we move it to the other side. Almost there, almost there. Okay, almost. Okay. All right, get that foot off. And get the 1/4 inch foot back on, because that's what I'm going to need right away. Yeah. And make another one of these. These are happy little blocks, these little charity blocks. So I'm just going to have to grab my big scissors, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I got my big scissors, and I'm just going to push this out of the way for a bit. Now, I'm going to cut between those 2 stitch lines. Right, and there I've got this thing stay stitch, so there's no stretch. Okay. Okay, here we go. And there we have it. Okay, so here we are. Here is that herringbone layout. This is going to make a really cute table runner or fun baby blanket. I haven't decided which yet, but that's stay stitching now. I don't worry about it stretching. On this side, what you could do is sew it together on the other side and make a tube and do the same, you know, drawing your lines and sewing on either lines and cutting it in between the lines. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put stay stitching in and then trim off the triangles, because that will, it'll be fine for a baby quilt this way. So what do you think? Let us know in the comments below. Remember, again, if you comment, you're invited to March 4th, 2022 International Stitch Marathon. I would love to send you an invitation. Now, just for the last bit, for those of you who don't believe in leader and enders, this is how many blocks I was able to put one log on while I was making this. That's it. That's a lot of blocks that I was able to add another element to, right? So, I mean, these blocks add up very, very quickly, especially if you're doing it like a leader and ender. Right now, these are only the blocks I worked on when I was making this project. I actually had to stop and cut more logs for my log cabin because I ran out. So, well, it's been such fun today with you. I hope you have a glorious week ahead. Okay, we'll talk to you later. Bye! So I really do hope you've enjoyed this video that you just watched. If you want an invitation to the International Stitch Marathon, please comment below the video. I would love to send you an invitation to this really fun event. A bunch of YouTubers and I have gotten together, and we're going to have the best time ever on March 4th, 2022 from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. It's going to be a blast, and we're hoping very much that you come and join us. But the only way to get an invitation is if you comment below. But if you enjoyed this video, share, like, and subscribe.
We're so overjoyed that you're back with us and you're watching again. It's been such a lovely journey that I've been on. And if you want to see more videos like this, or videos where I show you my pattern, my very beginner friendly pattern called Barn Swallows, you know, we'll comment as well on those. Okay, you have a fabulous day and a great week. Bye!